Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is ATHIRAH and I will start the chapter 1 introduction with background of study. Natural health foods do not contain any synthetic or artificial additive or substance. Food that are natural, organic or that have less processing than typical, like whole grain flours that have been stone ground, can all be referred to as health food in general. Although there is conflicting evidence, people may have heard that some nutrients are more concentrated in organic foods. When the food was produced, how it was stored and how it was prepared all have a significant impact on the nutritional value of the food. Herbalife Nutrition reported that Malaysian customers are eating better and exercising more after revealing the result of 2020 Diet Decision Survey, adding that 65% of them think that they will be healthier in the new normal. In this study, the relationship between the age of buyer and the total amount of natural health food purchased was studied. According to this study, the total amount of natural health food purchased is respondent variable, while the age of buyer is manipulated variable. This is due to the fact that the total amount of natural health food purchase varied according to the age of buyer. The data show that age of buyer can affect the total food purchase. When the age started on 60s, the amount of natural health food purchase increased from usual.
Assalamualaikum and hi, I am AQLILY Binti RONI. There are three main objectives of the study for this group assignment, which are: the first is to determine descriptive information regarding to the age of buyer and the total amount of natural health food purchased. The second objective is to analyze the association between the age of buyer and the total amount of natural health food purchased. While the last objective for this study is to construct regression model for total amount of natural health food purchased.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad FARID bin Osman. Now we will proceed with the significance of study. The significance of this study is to analyze and identify the association between the age of buyer and the total amount of natural health food purchased in Ringgit Malaysia. On the other hand, this study will help us to determine which group age purchase the natural health food the most.
Next, I will start chapter 2 with data descriptions. Firstly, population. Population of this survey is the buyer who purchased natural health food. The sample randomly selected 10 buyers with different ages for this survey and recorded the total amount of natural health food purchased. Method used to collect the data through surveys. The advantage of this method are low cost and more convenient data gathering because survey can direct to respondent through variety of ways. In the meantime, this method can be disadvantaged because the respondent may not providing the accurate answer and lead to error surveying. Next, type of variable. The type of variable for both age of the buyer and the total amount of natural food purchased were the same, which is quantitative continuous. The data representing a scale of measurement. Next, for type of measurement scale is ratio scale for the both. The scale contains meaningful zero, magnitude, and equal interval. Now, I will continue with the graphical technique. This histogram graph was used since the data from this study are in a grouped frequency distribution. As in this figure, the graph shows positive data set which is represented the age of buyer who purchased the natural health food. From the histogram, the highest age of buyer were at 16 and above. The distribution of this histogram negatively skewed to the left. Meanwhile, the value of mean is 60.80 and the value for standard deviation is 18.713. The histogram graph used the frequency as y-axis and the age of buyer, which is class boundary, as x-axis. Next, this figure shows the positive data which is represented the total amount of natural health food purchased. Based on the histogram, the highest total purchase is about 40 ringgit Malaysia and above, and the lowest was 120 ringgit Malaysia. The distribution of this histogram is positively skewed to the right. Meanwhile, the value of mean is 52.20 and the value for standard deviation is 34.029. The histogram graph used the frequency as y-axis and the total amount of natural health food purchase, which is class boundary, as x-axis. Lastly, this figure shows the scatter plot diagram. A scatter plot using for represent two variables, which is dependent variables and independent variables. In this figure show that total amount of natural health food purchase is dependent variables and age of buyer is independent variables. The scatter plot diagram show a positive skewness because the positive relationship between the two variables, which is when the independent variable age of buyer increase, the dependent variable's total amount of natural health food increase.
Then, we will continue to numerical techniques under Chapter 2, Methodology. This figure shows all the statistics, information and data for both variables, which are age of buyer and the total amount of natural health food per case. This statistic data was cropped from software IBM SPSS. From the software, we can get all the statistics data like measure of central tendency, which have mean, median and mode. Then, measure of position such as first, second and third quartiles. We also can observe the range, interquartile range, variance and standard deviation of data, which are under measure of dispersion. And lastly, measure of skewness, which is Pearson coefficient of skewness. For me, by using software IBM SPSS, it is really easy and very helpful to finish this group assignment because we will not spend more time just to calculate all the values by using calculator and so many formulas. With this software, we just need to input our variables and data, and then less than a minute we can analyze all of our data or information of statistics. I think that's all from me, and thank you.
Hello and Assalamualaikum. My name is HAKIMI HASSAN and I will start for the chapter 3.1 data representation. Based on the table above, the total number of buyers and the natural health food purchase is 10. There are various groups of buyers with the different amount of natural food health purchase. The least total amount is 12, which is the age of 40s, while the highest is 178 ringgit at the age of 70s. For the other group like 30s, 50s, 60s, 80s and 90s, the total amount of food health is 80, 40, 54, 115 and 105 respectively. So according to overall data, we can conclude that the natural health food has been purchased by elderly are more than the teenagers and adults because at the age of 70, they took more care about their health than other group age.
Next is descriptive statistic. Descriptive statistic compute the statistical data from variables such as number of data, minimum and maximum number of data, measure of central tendency, which is mean value of the variable, measure of dispersion, which is range, variance, standard deviation of variable, and also measure of skewness. Based on the table, the total number for both variables is 10. As for the minimum number for age of buyer, it is 29, and for the total amount of natural health food purchased is 12. While for the maximum number, the numbers are 81 and 180 respectively for both variables. Next, the mean value is 60.80 for the age of buyer, while for the other variable, the mean value is 52.20. From the table itself, it is shown that the value of standard deviation is 18.713 and the value of variance is 350.178 for the age of buyer. While for the total amount of natural health food purchase, the value of standard deviation is 34.029 and the value of variance is 1157.956. Lastly, the value of skewness for age of buyer from the table is negative 0.596, which appear to be skewed to the left, while the value for the skewness of the total amount of natural head food purchase is 0.844, which appears to be skewed to the right. Moving on to the next part, which is correlation and regression. The first one is correlation. First, scatter plot. Based on the scatter plot of the regression line above, it shows that there is positive correlation between age of buyer and total amount of natural head food purchased in Ringgit Malaysia. Furthermore, both of these variables display a linear relationship. This can be seen when there are increase in the age of buyer. The total amount of natural head food purchased is also expected to increase to a specific amount. Hence, the increase in the total amount of natural head food purchased can be assumed as the higher the age of buyer, the higher their needs of the natural head food, which explain how the food is being purchased. The second one is correlation table. From the correlation table, as the sample size n is 10, the value of the Pearson's correlation coefficient R from the table is 0.445. Hence, the value that interpret the characteristic of correlation between age of buyer and total amount of natural head food purchase is a positive linear relationship with the strength shows a weak correlation. The next part is regression. First of all is coefficient of determination. Based on the table, coefficient of determination R2 value is 0.198, which indicates that the percentage of determination for variability of age of buyer is 19.8%. Hence, the 19.8% of the variability of the age of buyer shows that it can be explained by the variability of the total amount of natural head food purchased. As for the remaining percentage of it, 18.2% can be explained by other factors. Second is the coefficient table. From the table, B0 equal to 48.030, while B1 equal to 0.245. Therefore, both values of B0 and B1 are substituted into regression equation, which is y equal to B0 plus B1x. Thus, the equation will be y equal to 48.030 plus 0.245x. The value of R from the table is 0.445, suggests a weak positive correlation relationship between age of buyer and total amount of natural head food purchased. That means the total amount will increase if the age is increased. From the equation of y equal to 48.030 plus 0.245x, the slope of the equation is appear in positive with the value of 0.245. Hence, since B1 equal to 0.245 means that for every increase in age of buyer, the total amount of natural head food purchase will increase by 0.245.
Now I will continue with the conclusion. Report summary. As a conclusion, throughout carrying this assignment, we are able to use and apply the statistical technique that we have studied in the chapter 1, chapter 2 and chapter 3. From the analysis that we have done by using IBM SPSS, we consider all the objectives were observed and achieved successfully. In this assignment, the descriptive information regarding to the age of buyer and the total amount of natural head food purchased in ringgit has been determined. The association between the age of buyer and the total amount of natural head food purchased in ringgit has been analysed, and the regression model for the total amount of natural head food in ringgit has been constructed. This can be supported by positive correlation relationship between the age of buyer as an independent variable and the total amount of natural head food purchased in ringgit as a dependent variable.